What is up? Welcome to the NBA Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Fred Astaire, joined today by Tyler Hicks and Glockoma. Glockoma, we get you on a Friday, ready to start the weekend right. And hey, we got a big slate today, but there's no way that we're not going to talk about what happened last evening, man. So, real busy, right? And so I'm trying to get all my work done because the game starts at 4:30 on my time, right? And I'm a little pissed at myself because I'm still working, writing, and editing when the game starts. By the time I edited my article, it felt like the game was over. We'll start with you, Glock, man. Could you believe I was so looking forward to that game? I thought it was going to feel like a playoff game. Boy, that game wasn't close at all. What did you think of the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, I was looking forward to it myself. I stacked up in DFS Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid, expecting them to go back and forth, right? So Embiid wants to defend James Harden, and then Kevin Durant wants to defend Ben Simmons, that type of narrative. And I thought it was going to get real nice because when KD got in Embiid's face, like right off the jump, like I was like, oh man, this game's going to be good. It's going to be good. And then all of a sudden, KD, it just looked like he was on a mission, man, and Embiid couldn't really match him. It was disappointing for sure. And Harden shot really poorly, but I really think I don't know, I feel like Maxey and Thibault aren't the best floor spacers per se, right? Maybe I'm just overreacting to one game, but just watching last night, like Maxey was just sitting in the corner. I don't know what happened with him because he's been playing great since Harden came into the fold. But it just looked like he was standing in the corner, not really doing much last game. So that was a little bit concerning to me. But yeah, overall, I was pretty disappointed to see what the fight that the Sixers put up. I was expecting, Embiid to put on like an MVP type performance, like on national television. And when he didn't, I was like, okay, Joker's about to lock this thing up. But he unfortunately he lost in the second game. So yeah, I mean, it was a great set of two games for sure. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed to see how Philly laid an egg. Kind of curious what Tyler thinks. I think you want Embiid to win MVP. So yeah, kind of curious on your thoughts of how Embiid played for you.
I mean, what a better night for him to have a bad night. I mean, dude still managed to get 27 and 12. But when you look at that box score, the dude shot 5 for 17 from the field. Drug himself to that 27 points because he made 15 free throws. But could he pick a better night to have an off night when you look at Jokic's stat line? 9 for 21 from the field, 0 for 8 from 3. Blew the lead in the second half and lost the game. It's like, yeah, I'll take that. Keeps me in first right now.
Yeah, what did you think of the Nets just blowing away the Sixers, Tyler? I know that you and I were both pretty excited for that game, and I was thinking we were going to be texting all game, and really not much to talk about, right? As the Sixers just got blown off the court. Were you surprised by James Harden going 3 of 17 from the field?
A little bit, because I didn't expect Kyrie to decide he was going to play defense yesterday.
I know he looked pretty good.
Yeah, so I completely missed that. I mean, it seems like them guys, they even said it in the interviews after the game. They wanted to win that game for Ben Simmons. So we should have picked up on that yesterday. That's kind of my fault for going the other way, but it is what it is. We got 10 games today. We'll find some more winners.
Yeah, and the fans in Philly are already turning on Harden, right? I mean, they were so excited when he was there, and then I don't think he helped his cause with the Philadelphia fans as the videos came out with him partying with the young rappers. What's their name? Little Baby and one of the other guys. He's out after the game, right? I mean, I know that, and the way that Philadelphia is, right? I mean, they live and die by their sports, and I'm sure they were all pissed off at work this morning. I bet you they were a little bitter to see him having a good time, just an hour or two after the loss. So, Tyler, I got to ask you though. So let's say these teams do match up in the playoffs, right? Because I still think it's a pretty good possibility. Do you think last night's game has any predictive value for a playoff series?
I think a little bit, just because, I mean, I know Embiid still shot 19 free throws last night. The defense, of course, will kick up once the playoff starts like it did last night for the Brooklyn side, which will cause Philly problems. And the whistle's going to get a little tighter, so the free throws aren't going to be there. So, I mean, I could see Brooklyn having the advantage. Like, to be honest, we've even talked about it before. I don't want anything to do with this Philly team come playoff time because of the free throw thing with them. You're not going to get those in the playoffs. So, I mean, it could be a weird matchup for them, but I don't know. KD's always that wild card because you just don't really have a body to put on him. Like, only one team has a body to put on him, and that's Milwaukee.
Right.
I got to jump in here because I think I kind of disagree with you, Tyler, because I feel like in the playoffs, like the best players get to the line. Like when you absolutely need to, like your best players will get to the line, and obviously Embiid and Harden, they know how to draw fouls like better than anyone. Like it's incredible, like just seeing Embiid getting 20 free throw attempts and a half. So I don't know. I feel like the style fits better for playoffs. It just seems like, especially last night, they were kind of touching it up on the TNT halftime show where it like Embiid getting to the line kind of slows them down a little bit, right? Like I don't think that helps Tyrese Maxey in a way, you know? Like I feel like they need to get up and down to the court. That's how Tyrese Maxey thrives, not in the half court. I know Harden and Embiid thrive in the half court, but you know, I think in the playoffs they'll be fine. Like it's going to be slower basketball. They'll be able to get to the line. Just my concerns are the pieces around Embiid and Harden. You know, like Tobias Harris on a max is just, I don't know what they're going to do with that. Like he's just looks like worse than Thibault in a way, you know. And Maxey and Thibault, you know, they're there for defense, but they can't really shoot the three. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Embiid will get to the line; he'll be just fine. But you know, I kind of feel like the game is going to play out similar to what it was going to be last night. Like, and Kevin Durant said it in the post game, like that. Like you just slow them down, let Embiid get his. Don't let the rest of them eat, and you win. So I think that's a strategy for sure.
Yeah, and I think you guys are both right to a certain extent. I think Glock, right, when you look at the block score, Embiid will probably be there, right? And it wasn't a close game last night, but I wonder if he gets those calls with 2 minutes to go, right? Or 30 seconds left, right? Because I know that, and I think that as fans, we like it that way for the refs to swallow their whistle. We don't want to see free throws deciding the game. The only, you know, and I do think it was predictive, right? But I don't want to just write, you know, Brooklyn in if they face, right? You know, it's like quick people think that now, you know, if they meet in the playoffs, that Brooklyn's automatically going to advance. And I would point to the Milwaukee series last year where, if I remember right, Brooklyn blew them off the court the first two games, right? And it just looked like it was going to be a sweep because I remember, you know, I had my Bucks ticket and, you know, I'm up in arms and everyone's victory lapping around me because I think I was one of the few people on the show that picked the Bucks over the Nets, you know. So I don't want to take too much from it, but boy, I'll tell you what, I was surprised at what a blowout it was. And then the Nuggets couldn't come through, and it felt like the fatigue in that game kind of set in the second half. And of course, that Warriors third quarter seems to be still one of the best bets in basketball, right? They come into halftime down by 9. They exit the third quarter up by 4. A 13-point swing in the third quarter. So excellent work for the Warriors. But enough about yesterday. Let's jump into today's. I got college basketball up. Let me switch to the NBA. The Minnesota Timberwolves are first on our docket. They're in Orlando, taking on the Magic. Magic catching 7.5 at home, a total of 232.5. This interesting storylines here. Let me see if I can pull them all up. I was writing about them a little bit this morning. So the Timberwolves have the best record since the All-Star break. They're 7-1 since the All-Star break. The Magic. Let me make sure I got this right. I think they've won 3 games in a row, though, right? And here's what I thought was interesting. So the Magic beat the Timberwolves once already this season. They won by 18 in Minneapolis on November 1st. And Orlando's won 11 of the past 13 in Orlando against the Timberwolves. Obviously, that's different teams, but I was a little surprised to read that. Tyler, let's start with you. How are you approaching the Timberwolves laying 7.5 on the road?
Yeah, I mean, 7.5 seems high. Definitely got to wait for the news on all these guys. Vanderbilt, McLaughlin, Edwards, Prince, all questionable. You get most of those guys in. I think Minnesota rolls here. I mean, they just don't defend guards well. 25 points and 3 threes to opposing point guards, 24 points, 4 threes, and 9 assists to opposing shooting guards. I got to think Russell and Malik Beasley are going to have big games here if Ant doesn't play. If Ant plays, he probably slots into the Beasley big game. But I'm probably just going to go to Russell because he's the guy that's been playing better. So give me like a Russell 4+ threes and win, a double and win. I think the total's a bit short here too. I think these two teams are going to put up a ton of points, so I would go over. And of course, the Cat double and win, I would play.
All right, I got it, Glock. I got to hear your thoughts on this. Malik Beasley, 17 shot attempts in their last game. They were all from 3, an NBA record. You got to like that when you're filling out a DFS lineup. How are you approaching this game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like Tyler said, we definitely need to keep our eyes on the Q tag news here. You've got Taurean Prince Q, Anthony Edwards Q, Jared Vanderbilt Q, Jordan McLaughlin Q. So, Yeah, I mean, based on who's in or who's out, I think if they're all in, like Tyler, I probably don't have any interest in this game from a DFS perspective, to be honest. I think there's just a lot of other spots which we'll cover throughout the night. I do think like Minnesota will just blow out Orlando. And, on the Orlando side, Cole Anthony's always going to pop in projections, but I just feel like with Markelle Fultz back in the mix, him, Jalen Suggs, like they all eat into each other. Wendell Carter, I haven't played him once when he's over 7K on DraftKings, so I'm not going to start now. So yeah, I think that's kind of my view. Malik Beasley becomes a good play if people are out for Minnesota. He'll slide into the starting lineup and he'll chuck like he has been in the past. But if they're all in and healthy, I probably will just skip over this game and not have any interest on my side.
Yeah, and I can see that. Here's another fun stat I did while doing my research for this game. Orlando has the league's best defensive rating since the All-Star break. The Magic have held their opponents to less than 105 points in 4 of the 7 points All-Star break contests. So, of course, that doesn't bode well from some DFS. And if you were interested in taking the points, that's another stat that I think that you can point to as well. I think I would lean towards taking the points, but I think there's much better spots on this card. So, Tyler, do you have anything else on this one, or are you ready to move on?
No, I got nothing else for that game. We jump into the Clippers-Atlanta game now.
Yeah, I think I'll have it on. I'm not necessarily too encouraged to keep it on, but it's a standalone, right? It starts at 4:00 my time, and none of the other games start till 4:30, 7:30 Eastern, right? So I'll definitely at least watch the first quarter, and I think it'll be fun, man. I like this Magic team. I like that they're rebuilding properly. I wish Vivek Ranadive would take a cue and do that out here in Sacramento, but I really like the way that they've done that out there. So another team that's rebuilding properly, in my mind at least, is the Detroit Pistons. They face the hottest team in the league, the Boston Celtics, who have won 15 of their last 17 games. Not a team better than the Boston Celtics. They have the best net rating of any group of starters in the NBA. They actually took over that crown from the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that's another fun stat here. The Pistons are now catching 14.5 here. Boston's playing so well. I can see why this line is here. I like Detroit, though. Before we were always fading them on the road, even with these big spreads. But they've been playing a lot better as of late. Now, let me check on Isaiah Stewart. He was a guy that I was worried about and was questionable when I was working on this one earlier. Did we get news on him yet?
He's out. Yeah, he's out.
Okay.
Coming back till March 17th.
Okay. What do you think, man? So I actually don't like him being out there. As far as a betting perspective, I'd still lean towards Detroit. What are your thoughts here, Tyler?
Yeah, I'd take the 14.5 that I see on FanDuel. I mean, they're 8-0-1 in their last 9 games against the spread. They haven't lost a game by 10 plus points since February 11th. And the largest they've lost by since then was 9 points. And that was the game to Boston out of the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. You got a couple guys popping up on the injury report for Boston also. I know they're not key players, but Grant Williams and Naismith, they do play some minutes, so they got to find some other guys to get in there.
Grant Williams has been playing really well as of late.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too, is he's been playing pretty good. I like We the People's calling Robert Williams double and win because I think the Celtics
Is that even plus money, or is that like minus 150?
No, it's plus money.
Wow, okay. Plus money, I like it, too.
And then other than that, I mean, I would take the Detroit side. I think they keep this game within 14 points. I don't think they get just blown off the floor.
Man, Cade Cunningham is so good. I'm having so much fun watching him and watching him develop, and I can't wait to see what he is in 3 or 4 years, assuming he stays healthy. Glockoma, how do you approach this one?
Yeah, so 2 teams that I don't really like to target, from a DFS perspective all that much. I think the ownership in this game will be relatively low, so any piece that you choose from this game will be good for tournaments, especially, look at Jason Tatum, past 2 games, 67.75 fantasy points, and then followed it up with a 64.75 fantasy point performance. Obviously, he's been playing really well, posting 4 straight 50-plus fantasy point performances. So you can't really go wrong with him. Looks like he's going to be under 10%. Obviously, if Detroit can keep close with Boston, then Jason Tatum's just going to keep on doing his thing. You have a lot of the guards out for Detroit, which I think is benefiting Cade. They can't just take him off the court. You've got Frank Jackson out, Chris Smith out, Killian Hayes out, Hammy Diallo out, and Rodney Magruder out. So, that secures a lot of the minutes for Cade. Obviously, he's in play as a tournament option. And then, I think my favorite play personally from this game would be Marvin Bagley.
I was going to ask you. That was the guy.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say he benefits most from Stewart being out. I don't like it from a betting perspective because his defense is terrible. But from a DFS, playing bad defense doesn't show up on those things, and he gets those points, he gets those rebounds.
Yeah, so last slate on the 9th, everyone was on him. I think like almost all the coordinators had him in the core plays. Obviously, he started, and he got into foul trouble. So, we just hope that he doesn't do that again. He'll be in play once again. His tag is a bit higher at 5.5 on DK, so he's not like a lock and load, but I think he's a good tournament option. So, yeah, I think this game you can reserve just like one-off pieces. If it's last in tournament type options, I think they'll be contrarian for your lineup. Although I don't think I'll be prioritizing anyone personally. But Marvin Bagley, my favorite. Kelly Olynyk should also be in play. Obviously, he benefited a lot from Bagley foul trouble last game. Put up 22.5 fantasy points in 20 minutes. So obviously don't play them both together. But if you think Bagley gets into foul trouble again, you can go to Olynyk at a cheaper cost.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. I think that'll be fun. And let's hope I hope the Pistons keep it close. I'm going to play a little 14.5 myself. The Los Angeles Clippers. Boy, this number's out to +7. It was 5.5 last night when I jumped in on it. Total 226.5. Total 243. Let's check this injury report. Is this market move? No, doesn't look like it. Robert Covington, right? He doesn't move the line 1.5. And that's all I see on this injury report, right? So, got to be good news for you, Glock. You know exactly what you're getting in this game, right? But Tyler, we've talked about this team, right? And it's almost like, God, you got to feel bad for Cleveland sports fans. It's like once things start going right for any team in Cleveland, not just the Cavaliers, something bad happens, some bad luck happens, right? And I'm talking about Jared Allen being out for the whole month of March. The way that this Cavaliers team was built was let's go different, right? Everyone's going small. Everyone's copying the Warriors. They're like, let's run 3 7-footers out there and run this out here like 1989, right? Let's grab every single rebound. Let's provide excellent rim protection, right? And just be a tough, versatile team. And they were able to do that. Now they're missing Jared Allen. Let's see, who else do we got out? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm about to say, are we on the Clippers game or the Cavs game?
The Clippers. I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought Atlanta.
I got so confused when you went into Jared Allen's injury. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, did I miss like 20 minutes? Oh,
because that's the other 5.5 point spread. You got to be kidding me. Excuse me. What a terrible breakdown. I'm sorry, guys. Indian Wells is going on, and we got a 10-game slate. Let me go over this again. The Clippers. Okay, so I still like Atlanta here. The Clippers, man. They've been pretty good all year as far as effort, right? Until last week, right? They had that really bad effort against the Knicks, which is, in hindsight, maybe not, because the Knicks have won 3 games in a row by 30 points or 15 points or more on the road, which they hadn't done since 1969. And then they looked really bad against the Warriors, right? They bounced back against the Wizards, and that was on Wednesday night in Los Angeles. So now they fly out to Atlanta. This is going to be a very interesting matchup here. I feel so stupid for messing that up earlier. But the Clippers, to me, I don't think they have enough horses to run with Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to have great opportunity to take advantage of the depth. I think they're going to win those road minutes here. And I don't know if the Clippers are going to be able to shut down Trae Young. So, Tyler, I kind of screwed that up. Excuse me, but take it away. Save us like you've been doing for the whole last 2 weeks.
You're all good. I think Nick found out our reason why you switched up the games.
I don't do that at night, at morning time. That's in the evening when the games are over.
Looking at this game, I mean, Covington only guy on the injury report. The Clippers are playing a little bit better, but Atlanta at home has just been a monster of a team. They're also sitting in the 10 seed. They can't take losses here. They got to get wins to keep themselves. They're going to be in the play-in game regardless. But you probably want to be on the play-in side where you only win 1 game and you're in. So you want to move up a couple seeds. They're 3-0 in their last 3 games at home ATS. If this was still 5.5, I would take it. Now as the number grows, I still think they win. But I'm going to stay away from the side. They give up 3 threes to opposing shooting guards and small forwards over the last 30 days. Kevin Huerter, 10-plus points and win, 12-plus points and win. They have listed on FanDuel. I'd play either of those. And Bogdanovich 3+ threes I would also play.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're both on the Hawks over the Clippers. All right, Glockoma. Quite the intro there for you. What are you thinking of this one?
Yeah, so I think if you guys are both on the Hawks, it makes it easy for me from a DFS perspective. It's just always hard to back the Clippers right now. They have Reggie Jackson priced over 8K on DraftKings, and that's just way too much for me. You've seen Ty Lue just be so sporadic with his rotation. Like, let's say, like, who comes into the game? Like, Luke Kennard comes into the game, right, and just shoots on fire. You could see Reggie Jackson just bench the whole second half and not even close the game. So because of that reason, Ty Lue just closes with the hot hand all the time. I usually tend to stay away from the Clippers. And yeah, on the Hawks side, you have Trae Young, 10.1K on DraftKings and 9.7 on FanDuel. He's always a great tournament option that never gets owned. I'm not really sure why, but he always has 60 plus fantasy point upside every time he steps onto the court, does everything for the Hawks. And, he's firmly in play for me as a tournament option tonight. But other than that, not really going to prioritize anyone from the Clippers. But yeah, just keep it simple in this game. Trae Young or move on.
All right, let's move on to a game, and hopefully I'll get the teams right. The Dallas Mavericks will be in Houston taking on the Rockets. Rockets plus 11 at home, total 225.5, plus 497 if you want to get crazy with the Houston Rockets. Tyler, we love the players on the Houston Rockets. We don't necessarily love their teamwork and their ability to win basketball games. But hey, right, they're coming off a nice 9-point win over the Lakers. And I don't know. I think they can keep it close here against Dallas. I'm leaning towards taking the points. I wanted to talk to you before I place the bet and actually probably make sure that I got the right teams playing, right? It's Dallas and Houston. Okay. We got that battle for Texas here. Luka should have a big night, but I think the Rockets will have big nights as well. What do you think? Are you going to take the points with me with the Houston Rockets?
We're opposite here. Give me Dallas. They're blowing them out spread.
It's not one of my.
I'm with you, spread. I'm with you, spread. I'm a Dallas homer, so I'm with you.
Oh God, I'm on an island. But I mean, you look at it. Dallas 11-3 ATS their last 14. They're off a loss. You look at this year, they're 18-7 against the spread off a loss. They're also 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 on the road. Houston coming off that win. You look at their last 2 times they picked up a win spread. The next game, 17-point loss, 25-point loss.
Good point.
Luka's going to absolutely cook these guards. Christian Wood, Jayshawn Tate not going to be out there probably tonight. Yeah, give me Dallas. I think Dallas romps them here.
All right. Yeah. And like I said, this isn't the one that I have the most conviction on. I don't know. Maybe I overrate the Rockets too much. Good point on Christian Wood and Jayshawn Tate being doubtful. Glaucoma, does that open up some opportunities from a DFS perspective?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think this is going to be one of the premier DFS environments of the night, especially if Houston can keep it close. And I think a lot of the cores will be on this game as well. Like, anytime you don't have Christian Wood, Jayshawn Tate, you kind of just plug in Alperen Sengun. He's just been an absolute monster anytime he gets the minutes. KJ Martin becomes a viable play. And yes, Brett, I think I agree with you. A plus 11 on the Rockets, I think that's a sharp play because, yes, Dallas is coming off a bad loss to the Knicks, but we always have trouble with the Knicks. And, honestly, I feel like the Rockets, they might play with more confidence without Christian Wood, maybe not having to post up a big man as much as they do Christian Wood. KPJ and Jalen Green just get going and they take it to the rim, attack the basket, shoot threes with confidence. And Dallas, they're going to be missing their best defender in Dorian Finney-Smith, and also their second best scorer, Jalen Brunson. So I think it's definitely going to be the Luka show tonight, but I think Houston will be able to keep it close to cover that plus 11. And yeah, in lineups for DFS, like, I think Luka will be the highest owned stud, but rightfully so. I don't think anyone on Houston will have the answer for him. He'll be able to do whatever he wants against this Houston defense. And then on the opposite side, like I said, no Dorian Finney-Smith for the Mavs, who's the best defender. So, who's going to cover KPJ? Who's going to cover Jalen Green, who's been playing like amazing as of late? So I love this game from a DFS perspective. I think you could stack it up a ton of ways. Half of your lineup could be included from this game because I think, not a lot of defense will be played on both sides.
All right, Tyler. Hopefully the Rockets cover, and I just get to send you Jalen Green highlight videos all night, right? Watch your favorite rookie take down your pick tonight. So we will see how that one turns out. Anything more on this one, Tyler, before we move on?
No, the only thing I'd say is we all think they're not playing any defense tonight. That total's pretty low then because it's 225.5. Mm-hmm. They should blow that total out if they're going to get up and down the floor tonight with no defense.
All right. Yeah, I like the over there as well. Let's talk about the New York Knicks, right? I threw out that stat there, right? They have won 3 in a row by 15 or more, first time since 1969. And I'll tell you what, it surprised me. I thought Dallas was going to pace them, after they beat who they beat before that. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, Utah. All right, so that was a great win for the Knicks. They're going for 4 in a row tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies are laying 9.5 here, total 229. So the Grizzlies are 4-4 in their last 8. Before that, they were 22-4 in their last 26. Right, so they were the hottest team in the league. Maybe that loss to Boston, right, kind of brought them back down to earth. But they've had a chance to make up some ground on the Warriors here. I think they did actually pass them, right? But they could have put them away if they had kept playing that same way. But it's hard to play at the level that they were playing at for an extended period of time. I don't know, Tyler. I don't even really have one on here. So yeah, I was right. They're tied with Golden State right now by record, but they have the tiebreak. What do you think of this one, Tyler? I'll tell you what. I kind of crossed this one off the list. I thought it was tough to handicap.
You could throw that comment up in the chat right at the bottom. Spread. There's the winner. They're gonna blow them out.
Okay.
I mean, they're coming off. I know they're on a 3-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
They are playing a bit better, but it is the Knicks we're talking about.
That's true.
Now they probably go into their hardest matchup on this road trip, which is Memphis, who's 13-5 ATS in their last 18, 7-1 in their last 8 at home. Point guards absolutely kill this New York team. Well, you know what that means.
MVP.
Ja Morant's about to eat them up. And then they're going to have to put a guy like Fournier on Desmond Bane. He might have another big game like he did against the Pelicans recently. So I think Memphis wins this game by double digits. I would play like a Ja 30+ and win, a Desmond Bane 20+ and win, and even maybe sprinkling on his 4+ threes and win. Because when he racks up those 20, it's usually a couple 3 balls too.
All right. Glock, Tyler's going against his favorite team. You bet against your favorite team. If the Kings were on the card, I'd bet against them as well. How are you approaching the Knicks and the Grizzlies?
Yeah, from a DFS perspective, it's kind of tough. Like the Clippers, it's hard to get behind the Knicks. You kind of have your main guys, Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. I would roster Randle with confidence, but it seems like ever since RJ Barrett came back from the break, he's just playing at another level. Feels like he's the alpha of this team, and he's finally under 8K on Draftkings. So I think you could fire him up. He'd be strictly a tournament option only. Julius Randle, definitely a tournament option only. But I think my favorite piece from the Knicks side is actually Mitch Robb. He's 4.9 on DraftKings, and when he's been playing his last 3 games, he put up 52.25 fantasy points, 32.75, and 35.75 in 24 minutes, which was the last game against Dallas. So looks like Dibs has more confidence in Mitch Robb and giving him the run when he's playing well, and they're going to need his size against Steven Adams. So I think Mitch Robb is a great tournament play tonight, just as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. And yeah, on the Memphis side, it's kind of like Atlanta for me. You just take the head of the snake, Ja Morant or nothing. Desmond Bane is fine. Jaren Jackson's fine, but, Jaren always gets into foul trouble. So, yeah, we'll just keep it simple. Ja Morant on the Memphis side, and then on New York Knicks side, I like Randall, Barrett, and Mitch Robb. But those are just tournament plays only. I'm likely not going to prioritize them. Like I said, I really like that Houston-Dallas game, and then there's other games later on that I really like to stack up as well. So, yeah.
If I landed on Bane, would you be? I was going to ask you about him. Let's just say I land on him. Should I go there or should I rebuild?
No, like nothing wrong with ever landing on Bane. He's very solid. Like 4 straight 30+ fantasy point games. He has 50+ point upside. So, I can't ever fault you for landing on Bane. He's definitely one of my favorite players for sure.
All right, good to know there. Tyler, anything more on this one before we move on?
Nope, that's it. We could jump into the next one.
All right, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I've already detailed their bad luck. Let's talk about them. And this line moved to 7.5 off 5.5. So, lines move. I don't know how I got confused there. The Miami Heat are at home. Do we have room about word about Jimmy Butler's sinus infection yet? Still questionable. Caleb Martin's questionable. Caleb Martin, man, that looked like a bad injury. I'm surprised that he's even questionable for tonight. Markieff Morris hasn't played since being touched by Jokic. That's the power of the MVP Serbian, and Karis LeVert out again for Miami, for Cleveland. And I would say, hey, that's bad luck. But let's be honest, when you trade for Karis LeVert, he's not the most durable, sturdy guy here. I love Miami at the 5.5 here for all the reasons I detailed in the Clippers breakdown. And I'll just leave it at that. Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Give me Miami here. I think they beat them, and I think they beat them pretty easily.
Do you think Butler plays? Because we thought he was going to play on Wednesday and he didn't.
Yeah, that worries me. But I think this is a little bit of an easier matchup. Like, this isn't Phoenix rolling in. Like, you kind of stop two guys for Cleveland. They kind of hit a wall. And they have the bodies to stop those two guys. Like, Mobley, you could throw Bam at them. That's going to give them some troubles. And they have the guards and the bodies to throw at Garland to slow him down. Mm-hmm. I think they win this game by 10+. This is another team. They're off a loss. They're the second best team in the league against the spread off a loss. 15-6-1 against the spread the next game. Yeah, give me Miami here. The Bam double and win. If Butler's out, give me like a hero 20+ and win, 3+ threes and win. Mm-hmm. And that's probably my best way of approaching this game.
Yeah, Glock, we always got to worry, right, when we hear about sinus problems in Miami. I hope Butler hasn't fallen in with the wrong crowd. What do you think? Do you think he'll play tonight?
I'm not sure. I haven't really seen anything to make me lean one way or the other, but I do know, like, if Jimmy's out, it does boost my interest in this game from a fantasy perspective. I would feel more confident playing someone like Darius Garland. He's 9K, but just look at his last game. Dropped 72.25 fantasy points, and then the game before that, 66.5. So, you know, the upside is there for Darius Garland. If he continues this type of play, obviously, you know, he's going to be 10K before we know it. And then obviously it's a tough matchup for sure for Evan Mobley, but ever since Jared Allen's gone out of the lineup, 2 straight 50+ fantasy point games, you know, he's the alpha. He's going to be getting all the boards for this team. He has major stock upside with blocks and steals, almost a guaranteed double-double. Despite the tough matchup, I like him here as a tournament option. You know, if it wasn't against Miami, Mobley would probably be one of the chalkier plays on tonight's slate. So yeah, just in that aspect, I think he's a great tournament play for tonight. And then on the Miami side, if Butler is out, I think you can consider someone like Tyler Hero. He is 7.3K on DraftKings, so that is a little bit, you know, tougher to swallow. So I lean towards rather just playing Bam at 8.6, but you know, both of those guys are also in consideration for tournaments. Like I said, I don't want to be like beating a dead horse, but I just think like Houston, Dallas is a great game environment. Charlotte, New Orleans will be a great game environment for fantasy. So I'm not going to prioritize these guys, but you know, there's going to be a ton of tournament options tonight that are great plays for sure.
And from a fantasy perspective, I think that both Garland and Mobley have benefited by the decision from J.B. Bickerstaff to leave Kevin Love on the bench, because then what happens? Now you got Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro starting, right? That's 2 kind of holes there on the offensive end, right? So, you know.
all the usage.
Yeah, right? I mean, 2 guys, I don't know what their usage is, but my guess would be like 10%, right? Each.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
It's low. Yeah. It's low. So those guys eat up the usage. And actually, from a betting perspective, I don't think it's the worst idea, right? Love's a little bit too old to try and be banging. I think he does way better against second units here. And hey, this team's built itself around its defensive identity all year. Why don't we continue that, right? We'll keep Okoro in there. We'll keep Wade in there. As good as Love is, he was not a good defender in his prime. Definitely not a good defender now. So I agree with that decision, and there's some fantasy upside there with Bickerstaff making that decision as well. This was a game that you talked about targeting. We got to get to it. The Charlotte Hornets are -2.5 in New Orleans, taking on the Pelicans, 225.5. Plus 127 on the Pelicans for the money line. And our guy Robert in the chat messaged me last night. He goes, how are the Pelicans laying points at home with McCollum and Ingram out, right? Well, I guess the books catched up because the line flipped. It was about -2.5 last night, and now it's plus 2.5 for the Pelicans. I don't know. So Tyler, like, would go for the superstar subtraction here, but it's like 2 superstars now. And Glock will have a better idea of how the lineups and the rotations are going to look. I'm not really sure how to approach this one. I mean, is the Hornets too easy here? What do you think?
I mean, sometimes they just get gifted to you, spread. I mean, I don't see where the offense comes from for the Pelicans with these 2 guys out. I mean, Graham could pick up some of the usage, but then he's just going to blow everything on the defensive end. So I think Charlotte wins the game here. And looking at some of these player performance doubles, they talked about the Terry Rozier 22+ points and win in the chat. That's plus 205. I like that. Mm-hmm. You could even jump to say, I wouldn't target the big man like a Montrezl Harrell because New Orleans is still going to have that size down there. Maybe even a LaMelo Ball 22+ points and win. You can get that one at plus 300. So that'd be some ways I'd be targeting this game. And maybe even taking a 4+ threes on LaMelo and a 5+ threes on Rozier.
All right. Glaucoma, talk to us about the fantasy options here. So who takes up this usage? Who goes into the starting lineup, and what should we expect from the Pelicans tonight?
Yeah, so no CJ and Brent Ingram, right? So you kind of have, I assume Devontae Graham is going to get the start, and maybe his feelings are hurt for getting subbed and becoming like the sixth man of the team, spot up shooter. He's going to come out, chuck, try to do his best. He's only 4.3 on DraftKings, so he's basically like a lock and load play. If you look at New Orleans roster, they don't have that many guards. Devontae Graham, Jose Alvarado. Do you consider Trey Murphy a guard? If so, you can, he's a guard. You don't really consider Tony Snell a guard. So if you don't consider Trey Murphy a guard, then they really only have Devontae Graham and Jose Alvarado who will start the offense for them. So yeah, I think Devontae Graham's a great play. Obviously, Jonas Valanciunas is going to have to step up in a big way if they want to keep it close. And yeah, I think like you guys said, that line of three, like I thought Charlotte was supposed to be a playoff team for the East. And if they're only getting 3 points against, the G League New Orleans Pelicans, that's a bit concerning to me. So yeah, I like loading up on the New Orleans side. Personally, I think they're going to start Devontae Graham, Jackson Hayes, Herbert Jones, Jonas Valanciunas, and then maybe Tony Snell, just like kind of as a defensive anchor guy. They could start Najee Marshall, but I think they'll go Tony Snell. So that would be my starting five. I think from a DFS perspective, my favorite plays would be Jonas Valanciunas, Devontae Graham, and then Jose Alvarado off the bench. I think he's just been a really productive player when he's getting the minutes, and he's basically min price at 3-1 on DK. So yeah, there's tons of guards to roster tonight, so we'll definitely have to like keep in mind, like if you look at the Houston-Dallas game, KPJ, Jalen Green, Luka Doncic, point guard, shooting guard eligible. Devontae Graham, Jose Alvarado, only point guard eligible. So yeah, I think that from a New Orleans side, you can load up at least 2 to 3 pieces for tonight. And then on the Charlotte side, one thing we always say on the DFS side, you always want to correlate with the chalk, right? So like if all the ownership is coming in on the New Orleans side, a lot of people, they tend to not run it back with the player from the other side, even though in game theory wise, it's a smart thing to do, because if the game's close, both players are pushing each other to their ceiling performances, right? So like, let's say you have a lineup with Devontae Graham and Jonas Valanciunas. Obviously in a close game, both of those players will, play their full allotment of minutes and hopefully do well from a fantasy perspective. So on the Charlotte side, maybe you want someone like LaMelo Ball or Terry Rozier to run it back with. And I think that those two are perfect options. My preference would be Terry Rozier. I think he's under 8K. He's 7.9 on DraftKings. And he's arguably been playing better than LaMelo, and his minutes are more secure. Borrego definitely doesn't pool Terry Rozier like he does for LaMelo. And, it is a bit concerning just seeing LaMelo not be able to reach like 30-minute ceilings in games. So, yeah, give me Terry Rozier from Charlotte. And then on the New Orleans side, you can't really go wrong, but my favorite pieces would be Valanciunas, Graham, and then Jose Alvarado off the bench.
All right. And West Coast Jim brings up a good point. If Travis was on the show, he would make sure he would be remiss not to mention this is the Devontae Graham revenge.
That's game. Right. Good catch. Good catch. Yeah.
Anything more on this one, Tyler?
No, that's it for me on this one.
All right. Here's another one that I thought this was the good right number. I think this number is very good. The Utah Jazz, -6 in San Antonio, taking on the Spurs. Total of 229.5. Spurs are plus 199 on the money line. To me, mathematically, that's probably the best play, because if they cover, I think there's a pretty good chance that they just win outright. But I don't know. The Jazz have kind of been flying under the radar because no one expects them to do well in the playoffs, and for the right reasons. They're kind of overlooked, but they've been a very good regular season team. One thing, though, they're not as good on the road. I don't know. I guess, if you had to pin me down, I think mathematically the best bet is the Spurs money line. If you had to pin me down, I'd take the points, but I do not love it. I do not want to fade the Jazz. What are you thinking, Tyler?
Yeah, I think the Jazz win, but I'm not touching this spread. They're 1-7 ATS in their last 8 on the road. However, they're 5-2 in ATS in their last 7 trips to San Antonio.
Good knowledge.
Yeah, so Bogdanovich being out takes away a shooter for them. It just probably means more usage for Mitchell. And then San Antonio, you're down. Bates Diop still plays some minutes off the bench. Langford's kind of useless. Primo's playing some minutes, and then Doug McDermott pops up here questionable. So They could be down some bodies. I like We the People's call on the over. That 229 seems low with these two teams that are just going to get up and down the floor and shoot a ton of threes. A Murray double-double, I wouldn't hate if you're getting a nice number on it because I don't see him getting the rebounds tonight with Gobert on there. But with the Jazz winning this game, you can get Rudy to get a double-double and win at like -110. I think that's the best way to approach it because you basically turn the game into a pick 'em and take the 6 points away.
All right, I think that's a pretty good way to approach this. Glock, I know these are two teams, right, that aren't necessarily fantasy friendly, right, unless you want to spend up for DeJounte, but I don't know if that's the best option tonight with the other options on the board. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, so now, like, without Bojan, I think that's a big impact. And, I think we haven't really been targeting Utah in the past because Rudy Gobert has been, like, almost a 9K player on DraftKings and Donovan Mitchell as well. And now it looks like they got a price decrease due to the algo. So, Donovan Mitchell at 8.6 without Bojan, great tournament play. He's going to have increased usage without Bojan. Same with Rudy Gobert, 7.4K on DraftKings. Wow, he's been like 8.5, 8.2, 7.8. So this is the lowest he's been all season, I believe. So I think he's firmly in play. San Antonio doesn't play any defense. So I think those two are great from the Utah side. Obviously, San Antonio, it's kind of just like Memphis and Atlanta for me, right? You have the heads of the snakes, John Morant, Trae Young, and then DeJounte Murray. So DeJounte Murray would be my favorite from the San Antonio side. Always a triple-double threat every time he's up on the court. That 11K price tag is a bit concerning to me because if you look at his, recent games, he's basically almost had a triple-double in 4 straight games, just barely missing. Like 3 assists he missed on one game, 1 rebound away, 2 assists away, and 1 rebound away in 4 straight games. So, if he actually gets that triple-double and gets that triple-double bonus on DraftKings, I think that'll be huge for his 11K tag. So yeah, I think both teams, like especially Utah, is a little more overrated on the defensive end than people think. I think they've been trying to play more fast as of late, and San Antonio plays fast, does not play any defense. So as like a contrarian stack tonight, like a Mitchell Murray or like a Gobert Murray stack, like mini stack, I don't hate it at all in tournaments for sure.
All right, yeah, great breakdown there. Anything else, Tyler, or do you want me to move on?
No, I just got a funny story on the Murray triple-double situation.
I
had a buddy text me the other night when we bet the Murray double-double and win against the Raptors that ended up coming short. He texts me back. He goes, triple-double for Murray? My response was, no, I don't want him to 9 me and finish with 24, 12, and 9. The dude goes out there and finishes with 25, 12, and 9.
It's painful. It's painful because
Tyler's been running lately.
He sent me the picture of the box score. He's like, you damn near predicted it dead on.
Yeah.
I think I've rostered him 2 of those slates where he's been just so close to the triple double, and like he'll be there like with like 5 minutes to go, and then in the last rotation he just can't get that rebound or that assist, and it's just like, oh man, it's painful for sure.
All right. Well, yeah, Tyler, hopefully you can call it another correct scoreline tonight. The Toronto Raptors are in Phoenix taking on the Suns. Suns are -5, total 222, +180. Man, the Rockets are almost on like a do not bet list for me right now. I cannot figure out this team, man. Some nights they look good, some nights they look bad. And it was like during the first half of the season before the All-Star break, I felt the opposite, right? Like when they were really injured, right? We could go against them and feel safe, and they weren't playing very well. Then they got everyone healthy and they were really good. And, they were a safe bet. And even if you didn't win your bet, right, you always felt like it was a close game or you got a good effort from the team. But they've really been on a roller coaster, since the All-Star break. Then you have Phoenix, right, who, they had a couple tough games, but they were missing their All-Star starting backcourt. Devin Booker is back. He played very well against the Miami Heat. Toronto Raptors, another tough defense. The difference is they are playing in Phoenix and not on the road. Tyler, I lean towards the Suns because I can't trust Toronto, but am I overlooking something here?
I don't think so. Devin Booker's back, going to run the offense for them. I mean, Cam Johnson still being out kind of hurts, but now you have a guy that could just eat up all the usage they need. Mm-hmm. There's not a big guy really for Toronto they're going to be able to put on Ayton. He should walk into a double-double tonight. I like his double-double and win. Booker's 30-plus and win. I don't hate playing a Booker double-double and win because he's going to be playing the primary point guard duties too, so he could rack up 10 assists. And then other than that, I'm really not going to target anything on the Phoenix or on the Toronto side just because I think Phoenix is going to lock down here and just blow them out.
Okay, sounds good. Glockoma, how do you approach this from?
Yeah, so I don't really like to ever target anyone going against Phoenix. I just think they're one of the top teams in the league, have one of the best defenses. But, when you look on DraftKings and you see Fred VanVleet's tag at 8.2, he's going to be in play for sure in tournaments, although I wouldn't prioritize it. He would be my favorite option because it seems like, all the other guys like Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, they're priced up to a price where that was without Fred VanVleet. So now you have the situation where it's just one guy that's mispriced. In my opinion, that'd be Fred VanVleet. So I think he's in play in tournaments for the Toronto side. And on the Phoenix side, Devin Booker under 9K. I think I prefer Donovan Mitchell in a better game environment. But, Devin Booker playing point guard for Phoenix under 9K on DraftKings, kind of something you can't ignore for sure. So I think you just consider the 2 point guards from each team at this moment. Fred VanVleet from Toronto, Devin Booker from Phoenix, and then just move on. But like I said, not prioritizing them, strictly tournament options only. I think they'll be very low owned. So, as a last piece in, great option for your lineups.
On the tournament side, who do you think will have higher ownership, Booker or Mitchell?
I think Mitchell might, just because of the game environment and probably that it's a higher total. So I think Mitchell will. He's also cheaper. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the last game of the night. The Washington Wizards are in Los Angeles taking on the Lakers. The Lakers laying 4.5 at home. Total of 229. Washington plus 172 on the money line. Boy, the Lakers have not been playing well. Their most recent game was that 9-point overtime loss in Houston. You got to think they get right tonight, but how many days in a row have we said that, right? But they're not going to really have problems covering LeBron, I think, with Washington. And of course, Travis would be upset and thumbs down the video if I didn't mention the Kyle Kuzma revenge game. I like the Lakers here, Tyler, but I'm not betting this. I'm completely fine not betting not betting on the Lakers for the rest of the year. I'll fade them in certain times. I don't know if I want to do it with this woeful Wizards franchise. What do you think, Tyler?
I mean, the Lakers are just killing our guy Johnny Nelson's emotions. For weeks, he would come in here in the chat and be like, "Lakers are back."
Yeah,
they must have finally broke the man's spirit because there's the comment in the chat: "Lakers suck."
Yeah.
And I mean, my breakdown for this game spread that I've written down here: 2 words: ... Fade Lakers. Kuzma revenge game back in LA. Play his props. Caldwell Pope's back in LA too, so you can even do the revenge game for him. I would just take the money line on Washington. You just fade the Lakers at this point. If they beat you, they beat you. Just like you said, maybe they don't have an answer for LeBron tonight and he goes off.
I mean, he's gone off every game in the losing streak.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like he might eventually he might just be like, screw it. I'm wasting my time out here. I'm going to have back tightness for the rest of the year and I'm done.
So, when he's out there on the court, he gets frustrated, man. Like when he's posted up in his position.
He wants nothing to do with anything.
I think he's still under the idea that Anthony Davis is going to come back and that they're going to put off a thing. And I'll tell you what, as a Kings fan, which means that essentially I'm a Lakers hater, I'm concerned about that too, right? They come in, they blow some team out in the play-in, and then, they're that proverbial 8th seed that you don't want to play. They looked pretty good against Phoenix last year in the playoffs. Phoenix is much better, I would say, this year after getting another year of continuity there. That being said, I don't know, Glock, how would you bet this one? And what do you think for DFS?
Yeah, so just a side note, Jonathan Nelson, after every Lakers game, if you go on Twitter, there's like a Lakers Twitter Spaces, and like all the Lakers fans join. Oh man! And after a loss, it's like complete shambles. So if you guys want some entertainment after a Lakers game, join the Lakers.
As a Kings fan, that's pretty much the only basketball entertainment I get. So
yeah, it's great. You got fans in there like, complaining about Westbrook and how LeBron's too old and stuff.
And they all want to fire Vogel, right? And the Westbrook complaints are so obvious, and it's just like low-hanging fruit. But I'm like, what do you expect Vogel to do? What is he supposed to do with this roster? Make Carmelo 7 years younger? Like, yeah, I mean, it's exactly. Just I don't understand where the Vogel hatred comes from. But they'll point to like a specific rotation that they think he should have made that he didn't make. But the thing is, it's not 2K, right? It's not like, oh, Russ, just go to the bench, and he's gonna be like, sure, got you, Frank.
Exactly.
I'll come in with about 7 minutes to go, right? I got no problem coming off the bench, right? I mean, there's more to this than just plugging the games in. So, yeah, I've enjoyed those Lakers spaces and the Lakers meltdown as well.
Russ has clearly said he feels like he's earned the right in this league to close out games. Like when they were benching him at the end of games and he was watching from the bench in his post-game press conferences, he was like, I feel like I earned the right to close games. And, obviously when you have someone like that, Russ is like great, like for fantasy perspective last year and stuff like that. But when you have someone like that on your team, and you kind of have to satisfy his needs, like it kind of holds you back in a way, especially if he's not like the best fit.
And Carmelo was that way in OKC, remember?
Exactly.
Because everybody knew he should have been coming off the bench there.
Exactly.
He wouldn't do it. He actually spent 6 months, 8 months out of the league. And then he said, okay, I understand. And he came back as a reserve. And now, I don't know.
And
I guess
like
he's okay.
We're going on a tangent, but it's kind of like a step that players have to take. Like, when Ben Simmons was in Philly and Jimmy Butler was there was rumors that, Ben Simmons didn't want to play off the ball, right? Because Jimmy was playing point guard for them way too much, and Ben Simmons didn't like it. And so, like, obviously for Brooklyn, if they want to take that next step, Ben Simmons has to kind of, swallow his pride and understand what's best for the team. Like, what kind of role do I need to be in for this team to succeed? And, I think it's the same for Russ, but who knows when they'll pick it up. But yeah, from a fantasy perspective in this game, I think, my second favorite stud behind Luka tonight as a spend up is LeBron. As sad as it is to say, he has 2 straight 70-point performances. He's got to do it all for this Lakers team for them to even be able to keep it competitive. Like, it's kind of like Jokic before the trade. When LeBron's not on the floor, the Lakers, it's painful to watch, and they're just on every national TV game. So it's like, when LeBron hits a bench, you're like, I need to turn this off until he subs back in. But yeah, LeBron would be like a lower owned pivot to Luka for me, and he's a late night hammer. So, as everyone's lineups is done, you get LeBron as a stud spend up doing everything for the Lakers at the end of the night, climbing leaderboards. Can't hate that at all. Don't really like anyone else on the Lakers. Like I said, just bash the secondary pieces. And then, on the Washington side, I do like the Kuzma revenge narrative, and I think he's in play for tournaments. But, the introduction of Kristaps Porzingis is a little concerning to me. Just going to soak away some of that usage despite on his minutes limit. KP, when he was on the Mavs, I knew personally, like, he would be verbalizing like that he wants posts up and stuff like that. So, that'll take away from the flow of the offense, maybe take some mojo away from Kuzma. But revenge, he's 8-8 on DraftKings, firmly in play for tournaments, like a Kyle Kuzma, LeBron James mini stack to end your night. Can't hate that at all. Tyler, I did like to point out about KCP. He's been playing surprisingly well as of late. 3 straight 30-plus fantasy point performances, with one being a 44 bomb. So, I don't know if he's a revengeful guy because him and LeBron share the same agency, but if he wants to show out in LA, he surely can do it. And at 4-8, I don't mind the tag, although I don't really love rostering anyone from rostering KCP, that is. So LeBron James, second favorite stud spend up on the Lakers as a pivot to Luka. And then on Washington side, Kyle Kuzma for tournaments. And then if you really need it, KCP is a fine value play as well.
All right. Question here from West Coast Jim. He says, do you think that LeBron will be the lowest owned spend up tonight?
It depends what you mean by spend up, because like if you look at it, Luka is at the top, LeBron is right there. So if you're considering over 11K, you only have those two, and then DeJounte Murray.
So let's go over 10K then.
Yeah, so you have Luka, LeBron, DeJounte, and Ja, and Cat, Tatum, Trey. I mean, I don't know. I think LeBron will be up there, but he won't be more owned than Luka. I think, based on the injury news in Minnesota, if Ant Edwards is in, I think Towns would be the lowest if you consider him a stud. He's 10-7. So, yeah, I would probably and Trey and Tatum never really get that much ownership. So I think LeBron will be up there. He just won't be as high as Luka.
All right, and let me defend one of my earlier comments here. We the People is not a fan of Frank Vogel, and I'm not necessarily saying he's this great coach, but my point is with this roster, what coach is making them right a top 4 team in the West, right? It's just I don't even think prime Phil Jackson, right, could get that much more out of this team. The roster is just unbelievably bad constructed, and it's not even okay. Every Lakers fan on my timeline hated the trade the second it happened, right? It was like 1 in 99 actually thought it was a good trade. Nobody liked this fit from the start. So, and then they gave up all their depth to get him. So they're getting destroyed in the bench minutes. I don't know what he can do. And LeBron's like a one-way player right now. Like there's so many nights that he's got that James Harden highlight level on defense, right? We're just kind of standing there, kind of inching, trying to get the rebound, trying to get the ball back to keep padding those stats, not too worried about stopping his opponents. And I think that when your star's not playing good defense, it just kind of trickles down, right? So
let's be honest though, Spread. Like when you miss your second best player, it's kind of tough to be
and your best defender. Yeah. Right, he was the glue on that defense. I mean, because people were down on AD and his shooting was terrible this year, but I was like, he's still a top 5 defensive player in the league. Like he was doing everything, and in fact, for his size, his ability to defend the 3-point line, it was even better than Giannis. Right, so I mean, there's an argument that he was the best defender.
He could arguably be their best player. So if if you're missing your best player, you're gonna have some issues. Like if the Mavs didn't have Luka Doncic, you'd have issues. If the Denver Nuggets didn't have Jokic,
that was the whole thing they pushed that was the whole thing they pushed when they traded for him. LeBron's like, this is going to be the motor that runs the team, and I kind of get to sit by and watch him just take over as the new leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then come to find out,
he don't have that leadership personality though.
I think LeBron thought he could mold it into him in those few years of having.
I just don't
think
you can.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Either are.
I think guys have it, or they don't.
Yeah, I think AD's pretty happy with his life, like regardless of what happens. I don't think he's like Harden, man. I mean, it doesn't take the loss too hard, right? It's like, it sucks, but hey, little baby's having a party. Let's go. So, all right, enough Lakers slander for today. I'll bet you we're losing viewers because so many NBA fans are Lakers fans, and we're not very nice to them at all. So, let's move on to the best bets. Tyler, let's start with you. Best bet today, side total or prop?
I'm going to take the Phoenix -5. I think they blow them out. I don't think Toronto stands a chance. And if you want the plus money on that game, I would take 8 and double and win.
All right, so you like Phoenix -5, 8 and double and win. Glockoma, looking at the betting board, side total or prop, what's your best bet for the day?
Yeah, I'm going to go against my hometown team. My favorite bet of the night is Houston Rockets +11.
All right.
I think, especially if they don't have Christian Wood and Jayshawn Tate, I think these young guys on the Rockets just like to play hard, play fast. The Mavs are without their best defender, Dorian Finney-Smith, and their second best scorer, Jalen Brunson. So I think this game's going to play close. I think Houston's going to cover that +11. Luka Doncic is going to have a big game, and a few of the Rockets pieces are going to have a big game as well. So from a betting perspective, +11 and DFS stack that game up. That's my route most likely for the night.
All right, and I don't care who they're playing. I'm taking the Atlanta Hawks. You can throw anyone. I can't remember the name of their arena, but whatever the arena they play in, you can throw anyone in there, and the Hawks are going to cover that spread. I like the Atlanta Hawks tonight, even at the -7 number. I think it's a tough spot for the Los Angeles Clippers. Tyler, we've been doing pretty well with these home run parlays. You have one more?
Yeah, before that, though, I left it on the board for you, so I got to add it to my best bets because I thought you were taking it. Okay. Detroit plus the 14.5.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, keep giving
more the home run parlay. We're going to plug in 8 and double and win. We're going to plug in Robert Williams double and win. And then the one that's going to boost the odds the most, we talked about him in that Washington game. KCP's been playing better. I don't trust this Lakers team to win a game. KCP 3+3s and win will be the final leg. That gets us 28-1.
All right. There you go. So, Tyler, the kid's been hot. I would definitely be tailing that parlay if you have access to those player performance doubles. Glockoma, always like having you on, man. I said it yesterday when I was saying, I said, you give the most information per sentence of any guest we have, right? It's just so efficient. The way you give out the winners, way you give out the breakdowns. We love having you on. A great delivery. I think the people love it too. Any words of wisdom for the audience before we sign off?
No, yeah, I think Hoop, JSU, and Big T, they're in Nashville for the Draftkings live finals. So wish them luck. It's tonight, so the slate tonight will determine who wins, gets to take home $1 million. So wish them luck. Where they're going to represent RPS proud. And yeah, just be tuned in for the show later in 15 minutes, the Hardwood Show, and then up to lock. We'll give you all the winners you need for your DFS lineups tonight. Good luck, everyone. Yeah, I mean, the content doesn't stop over here at Run Pure, right? Because we're going to log off. You got 15 minutes to hit the workbench. Then the Hardwood Live show starts. And then, of course, the Up to Lock show. So if you're into NBA and you're trying to navigate this lineup, there's no better place to be than Run Pure Sports. Please
give us the thumbs up on the video, give us a retweet, drop it in your group chat. You can talk about how Tyler's talking about exact score lines for DeJounte Murray. Thank you, everybody else, for joining us, and run pure.